Okay, we're good. Did you hear that?
Yep, I heard that.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. So usually with me, I get a little bit nervous when it comes to intros. So I record my intros after.
Oh yeah,
It's probably something I should get, like I should actually like just do it in the moment, but I always get a little bit nervous. Like, yeah.
it's all good. So you want me to just go and say mine, I guess?
Yeah, yeah, if you want to. If you want to do it now, if you want to do it later, but if you want to do it now, you might even
Oh,
motivate me to
I
do
don't
it.
mind. I don't mind doing it later if you want to. It's all good.
You
I
go
don't
for it.
wherever your flow is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not necessarily directly for my podcast yet. I'm gonna use it for like my YouTube, if that's
Okay.
cool.
Yeah, of
So
course.
yeah, perfect. So hi guys, welcome back. Tyler Wellness here, and today I'm talking with my friend Lisa. We had met a while back on TikTok and actually kept sort of building our relationship from there. Hopefully, in this podcast, we're going to bring a lot of powerful intention around mindfulness and everything like that. So you guys can learn quite a bit of the tips that we use and things that you guys can start to apply to your life to be better at that as well. So always, feel free to comment questions that you have below in the comments, but we'll dive right in here.
Awesome. I'm
Awesome.
excited. So we're talking about mindfulness and awareness.
Absolutely.
And I think when it comes to mindfulness and awareness, it's the source of everything. A lot of people they have goals and they have dreams that they want to, like, it could be example to be a speaker. So they'll initially, okay, like I need to do this course to be a great speaker. I need to do these things to be a great speaker. But it's like, if you're not mindful of the things you should work on, example like your limiting beliefs, if you don't know what your limiting beliefs are, you can't change them.
hmm
And you can transform your limiting beliefs to limitless beliefs, which ultimately like make you a great speaker or whatever it is that you want to do in life. And I think that's the key thing for anything when it comes to mindfulness is just being able to address your limiting beliefs and be brave enough to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And it does take, I'd say, a lot of practice, one, because as we've grown up, we've sort of been like conditioned to think certain ways, right? Our environment, if you start asking a certain amount of questions, sometimes people say, they don't have the answers to your questions, but rather than saying that they don't have the answer, they just say, it's that way because it is what it is. And you start to have, you build your life around the answers that you got as a child. And then so you enter your adult world, everything is like open to you. You don't have any guiding figure saying, hey, we're going to go do this right now. It's up to you. And so if you've built those limiting beliefs all throughout your life, you don't really think about it. You're like, oh, am I able to go and do this? Can I start now? Like, can I ask these questions? Because, so many times in our past, it's been like sort of engraved in us by the ones we love and trust to maybe not ask those questions or just believe that things are that way because that's what it is. And as you said, starting with your beliefs and addressing, what limiting beliefs you have is key. And I say, my 4-step plan to achieve success, there's actually step, which is having belief in yourself.
Mhm. Yeah. And as well, like I took a note down as well about like the three characteristics of mindfulness. It's attention, it's intention, it's attention, and your attitude as
Mhm.
well. So you have to be mindful of those three things. And I think a lot of people they look outside of themselves to improve those things rather than looking within and wondering, okay, what are my intentions for the day? Um, what are the things I'm giving attention to that aren't making me feel good or are making me feel good? And your attitude as well. Do I have patience for myself, which ultimately is a byproduct of you having um, patience for other people? So everything, it always begins from within. when it comes to mindfulness. It's having your mind and your body in the same place. And when you're unmindful, you have your mind and your body not in the same place. So you're pretty much like unaware in that moment.
Yeah, and it's weird too because once you start to become more aware of when you're unaware, that's
Yeah.
when you are aware that you can snap right into it. Like, oh, I'm mindful. Okay, I'm not here present right now, and you bring awareness to that, and you can refocus and fix it right then and there. A
Mm.
lot of people, they might recognize that they're slacking somewhere. They're not mindful in this moment. They're like, I'll fix it tomorrow. But you can
Yeah,
fix it right now. You snap it the moment you're aware of it, fix it.
exactly. And you have to be intentional with your mind and with the things you're doing. And that's exactly what mindfulness is. It's you're either mindful or you're unmindful. And it's it's like in everyday life, you have to practice it. It's a practice, like mindful meditation. There's so many like sources on YouTube of meditation and everything like that, but I think people, they have the wrong idea of meditation. They think that meditation is where you have to eliminate all thoughts, so straight away they already have a judgment of, I'm not going to do that because it's unachievable for me. I can't eliminate my thoughts, I can't stop thinking. Or if they do try it, they're already in their head about it. But it's like meditation is your ability to understand or like work with your thoughts. So it's like when you're meditating, you're noticing when your thoughts are coming up. So it's your attention to them and just bringing them back. So
Mhm.
if you're thinking a thought, you bring that thought back to you, like, okay, I'm here, I'm present.
Absolutely. I like how you said, it is a practice. And I
Yeah.
personally, like, I've seen, videos in the past, people say, oh, everything in life is a practice. And I sort of embodied that philosophy for myself. A lot of people watching might think that, we're on a podcast, we're in a YouTube video, all this right now. They might
Yeah.
think that we're super professional at this, but everything that we're doing in our life is technically a practice for the next thing and the next thing after that. So, I mean, if that helps anyone who's listening, we're even practicing right now,
Yeah.
talking to each other and communicating and being intentional with our messages.
Exactly. And we've come a long way since our first since our first like um since our first call. Like I've noticed like how much I've developed. I've gained so much more confidence, but at the same time, it's not saying that we're above where we were before. Like we were where we were meant to be at that time to be where we are now. And it's like
Exactly.
we're consistently growing, and it's okay. Like people think they need to be at a certain stage in their life to do things, and it's just like, no, like do it. If it feels right for you, do it.
Mhm. And that's really key too. I had a conversation with someone earlier. They were saying that, they're getting a lot of positive feedback. They're someone who's in the gym, they work out a lot, and they have people that want them to train them. And,
Mm.
in their state, obviously they didn't necessarily need a certification, but they didn't feel qualified to help these people because they weren't certified. But they knew
Yeah.
all the things and they're getting results, and they have friends that work out with them who are getting results too. And I was just letting them know, I mean, if what you're doing right now in that moment feels right, you're delivering results. Your results are your certification in that degree. So then if you feel you need that certification after, you can pursue it, but also recognize what you're actually doing right now. You're creating results. You're creating, things for other people and yourself. So
Exactly. That's
yeah, never.
true. And
Oh
oh,
yeah, go.
sorry.
No, you're
Oh,
fine.
absolutely.
I'm too much time.
Okay. That's like me. I was a personal trainer, and um I felt the exact same way. I felt, okay, I need a certificate to be able to like train someone, and so I don't get in trouble, things like that. But I started like training my friends, and I got better at it, and it actually made me even better when I started my studies and I actually got into the field. I wasn't scared. Like I knew what I was doing at that time. So the experience is everything.
Absolutely. And all those are, everyday practices. You bring
Mm,
all the experience of I helped my friend with this, I've helped a friend with that, and so many other things. And then you take the
Yeah,
course and you're like, oh, I already have real world experience with that. And you can also learn the concepts a lot sooner and faster because you've already done it.
definitely. There was like a couple questions I wanted to ask you.
Oh,
Um, so you're still doing your business is Tyler's Wellness, hey?
yep, that's one of
Yeah.
them.
Oh, it is? Is that
Yeah.
your primary focus, Tyler's
I mean,
Wellness?
so Tyler's Wellness is like it's sort of the me behind everything, right? So like I
Yeah.
just present myself as Tyler Wellness, and I basically the reason behind wellness is there's so many aspects of wellness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the spiritual wellness, physical wellness, financial, and all these other aspects. And I sort of broke it down. So even nutrition, I have like a food kind of thing that I do, and I do marketing and stuff for them, but it's under another business, which is Modern Digital Groups. And
Okay.
that, I build websites, run their ads and everything else, and just a ton of different things. But it's like the person who is me is Tyler Wellness, and then I operate all these other things.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that though. Like, so why did you start Tyler's Wellness? And obviously, like what you said, it's kind of like is it compartmentalized in a
A
way?
little
Like it's
bit.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you've sectioned them off, but like, why did you begin the whole thing and how did it start?
Yeah, so oddly enough, it was like an evolution at first. I appreciate the question, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Um, So a while back, a couple years ago, I didn't really think I had much of an audience, and I was just recording videos kind of for myself on Snapchat. And
Mm,
I had people that were eventually swiping up my stories and saying, "Hey, keep these up. I really love them." Like it was motivational stuff sometimes, or just thoughts of that things that I was thinking about, and I would just share those thoughts. And eventually, one of my friends hit me up, and he said, "Professor Campbell," which is my last name, right? So that became a phase where when I was really heavy into my studies, I was studying a lot of spirituality, studying how to start my business and everything else. That was the name for it all was Professor Campbell, even though I'm not a professor, right? But just sharing what I learned and everything. And through there, I was like, well, I don't really think professor fits because like what I'm doing at that time, I was training people, I was studying spirituality. I realized I was already creating these divisions of
mm,
aspects of wellness, right?
yeah,
So that's how the Tyler Wellness started to evolve from there, where I had people that were following me for the motivational content. I had people following me for my physical content when I was working out, training, and showing that stuff as well. People following me for learning how to start my business and everything too. And I was like, well, it doesn't all just fall under that category. So I kind of
yeah,
also have to split it up because algorithms on the platforms, if you share fitness one day and business another, it just kills it.
that's true.
So I did have to split it up there, but also later, now that I have the different audiences, I'm like, I can share really whatever I
Hmm.
want. So I'm
That's so
just getting
true.
back into that phase where I'm just like, share everything because again, the people that resonate with what you're sharing, they'll be there regardless.
Exactly. And you're kind of like opening doors as well for people who, example, might be more interested in the fitness side of things. They'll be like, oh, wow, like he mentioned something about, like it can just resonate with them within that video that you're sharing.
Mhm,
But I love that. I love that you separate them, but at the same time, they really do all come together ultimately.
mhm,
And you've
absolutely.
been mindful about it. You are aware of like what you wanted to do, and like what you said with the algorithm on TikTok, it can be all over the place, but
Mhm,
you didn't let that stop you. You still did what you did.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
And I feel like, you'll build the real authentic audience when you just truly be yourself. And so that's
exactly.
why I just got back to that and just started putting everything out there.
Yeah. What were your challenges?
Well, a lot of the challenges at first, I guess for one, I was already creating content and everything too. So trying to catch people up to speed when I've
Yeah.
already had like so many other things that kind of connect and they maybe jumped on way later. They're like, oh, what's that concept that you talked about? And I have to then explain it again or something like that. Also, again, with the algorithm being what it is, if I posted a video when I was consistently doing one thing, I had a moment when I went kind of crazy viral. Not crazy, but for my content, it went viral.
Yeah.
It had like over 600,000 views on it and like 100,000 likes or something. But the content was just like
Wow.
a random video. Like to me, it was just a random kind of video that I made, and it wasn't the content I created as a follow up wasn't the exact same. So
Mm,
obviously, none of the views kind of came over. So it was like, oh, it's whatever. I'm not again for it for the views or the likes. I'm just creating the content, but I see what they wanted, and I'm like, okay, I can create that when I want to or whatever, but
yeah.
I'm still gonna keep creating these things. I'm still gonna push these things and post again my motivational stuff, post my physical stuff, occasionally post what I'm doing, mindset, business, all of it.
Mm, exactly. But I love that you name it wellness, because wellness is all round. And with the Zoom calls that I do, we speak about wellness and we do like practices like meditation. We do some breath work, because a lot of people that come to the calls, some of them come on there for the meditation, some of them come on there for the breath work, and then some people just like to sit in and listen and take notes of things, or just observe. And the perfect thing about the Zoom calls is that people have the floor to speak if they want to. And it's just like a space we've provided to bring in people that kind of feel like they're alone, and where they can share their ideas and bring them to fruition, and start applying them to their lives. Because the Zoom calls are called UBU, and
Mm.
it's all about embracing authenticity. And at times it's very hard, so that's why like we also teach mindfulness and awareness and how important it is. And I thought you were like a perfect person to talk to about this, because you've obviously like been through different stages with your business and with your life, and it's gotten you to where you are now. And the next question I want to ask you, I wrote it down. um, So what is your biggest challenge when it comes to being mindful? Example, you might have a day where you're just not feeling it. Like, what are some of the things that you do to get yourself out of that place? Or do you choose to, say, you know what, I feel this way, I'm going to stay in this moment, and I'm not going to do anything until I feel good. Like, what do you do?
So it's a great question too. A lot of the times, like I've sort of like because of all the things that I've like been through so far, it's like I recognize if I'm kind of slipping a little bit, and I feel like I
Yeah.
built systems to try to stop myself from slipping.
Mm,
So it like every day I think about my 4-step plan to achieve success, and I'm like, okay, am I again one, am I doing step zero, which is believing in myself that I can change whatever situation's going on right now? If
yeah.
not, I got to do that. Number one. Two, if I already believe myself, and I know because I do believe myself, but if
Mhm.
I have that, am I on my path? Did I decide what I want to do today? Did I set really an intention, right? Because that's really what step number one is when I say decide what you want.
Yeah.
That's setting the intention, like, okay, what direction do I want to go? What direction do I want to take today? And if I do catch myself slipping and I'm like, okay, things aren't going the way that I want it to, I can ask myself, with all of this being said, what can I create now? Like, what do I want? How do I want the rest of my day to go?
Mm,
And there's no point to just put it all away because I still have hours in my day. So, I can shift whatever else is happening despite all of the things that are happening because I'm like, I know it is a thought at the end of the day. It's how I choose to think and how I choose to act. So I just try to keep hitting my 4-step plan. And that's like my rock to keep myself back on track.
yeah.
So
So break that four-step down for me really quick.
yeah.
So the first one.
Yep. First one is to decide what it is that you want. So when
Okay.
you have that intention, that you're kind of setting the direction. Now
Yeah.
that's where step number two comes in because you might not know exactly everything you got to do to achieve that, but this is where you start to make the plan. So I have a lot of
Mm,
lists all around me. Like 1 second here, I have a
yeah.
notebook where I have just
Yeah.
lists of things, and if I feel overwhelmed, I just make a list
That's
because
awesome.
it's super easy to like think that there's a lot of things going on, but when you write it down, you're like,
You're being intentional as well.
yeah. So it's just like, okay, this is not really that bad. And I can just start to pick whichever one I feel I can maybe knock out at that point. And then if you start to knock things out, even the small things, you build momentum.
Yeah.
So start to make my plan. And then step number 3 is to execute my plan. So once I have everything listed out, take action. What can I take action on right now to start building my momentum? And step
Mhm.
number 4 has 2 parts. It's
Yeah.
being relentless. So, if I know what I want, just being relentless until I achieve that thing. But part B is revise my plan if I need to. So I kind of have to go back to step B or step 2 and maybe change my plan. Maybe
Yeah.
the steps that I was taking is not actually taking me down that time to revise it and just keep on repeating that process.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, thank you.
It's
And
good
how
because
about,
like, you go.
I was going to ask, how about yourself? I was curious what you do as well.
Oh, for me, I'm very like, I feel I'm more in tune with like, where I am now. Before I was very, I'd always feel very stuck. So I'd have a thought, example, like I had my day planned out the night prior, and I'd be like, okay, I need to wake up. I'm gonna have the coffee. I'm gonna go for my run. I'm gonna do all these things, and then like just having that set out, it sometimes would overwhelm me. On most days, it would be good. Some days I would just be like, oh, I don't want to do this. So it was just allowing myself, if I felt in that moment I needed rest or I needed recovery, um, I would weigh it out. I'd be like, okay, does my body feel sore, or do I just am I just thinking that I need rest right now? So I'd weigh that out, and even though mentally I didn't want to go do that thing, I'd do it. So it was very, very hard, but it's like you have to get out of your own way sometimes. And then if I felt like my body needed rest, I'd rest. But at the same time, when you give yourself that rest, your mind is like, you have to do this. You need to go for your workout. You need to go for
Mhm.
your run. You're being lazy. And it's like sometimes you have to learn how to shut down those thoughts and give yourself that rest recovery that you need. And those are the things that I was doing. So it was more of like a mental challenge for me to face um, than anything, because I feel like everyone handles their life a little bit differently from each other. Like example with you, you would have gotten to a place where you figured out those 4 steps work best for you. And for me, it was just um, being mindful. Okay, is my head and my heart in the same place right now? No, it's not. How am I going to do that? I need to just give myself this time to sit. And like, that's when I just put some like binaural beats on and just like sit and be quiet, close my eyes, meditate. And then I'll find myself like in the present moment to actually like do those things.
Absolutely. I like how
Yeah.
you said that too. A lot of the times, we don't recognize, okay, if I'm thinking all of this and I'm
Hmm.
like, my plan was this, again, you're not aligned with what you were trying to do. And you sometimes do have to, in stillness, there's answers. So just, binaural beats. I have,
Yeah.
sometimes I do binaural beats and I'll do like Baroque classic music.
Ooh,
Yeah. And I'll just
what
have
is
that.
that?
It's this instrumental music that I heard about from a podcast from Jim Quick. He was saying
Okay.
that this classical music, it's a Baroque, Broq. I can send you the exact spelling later
Okay.
because I don't have. It's like really weird, but yeah, basically it's instrumental music that is
Yeah.
at a certain beats per minute. So you're not like overthinking if you're listening to the music. It's like so fast, where you're just like, okay, yeah. And you just kind of just work with it. That's like my work music.
That's awesome. I used to
Yeah,
listen to like classical, like piano or like rain falling. Like, I don't know, it just put me in just like that calm state because I've always loved the sound of rain.
mhm,
Um, just all of those sounds. Yeah.
absolutely. I agree with that too. I have a playlist that has some binaural beats mixed in, has binaural beats with like nature sounds and rain and like
Yeah.
stuff like that, and also then the Baroque music, Baroque classical music. So
Yeah. I think with being mindful, a lot of people, um, because I know I've been in that place before, um, they're unconscious that um, they're unaware in the moment, if that makes sense. So they're not conscious that they've been unaware most of their life. So they're stuck in sort of like the pattern of their habits, um, their daily habits that have become their routines. And like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, he says, if your mind and your heart are not in coherence, then you're not going to be able to do the things in life that you ultimately set out to do or achieve. And I think it's just being able to step out of that sort of like hamster wheel of your thoughts and your feelings to be able to see and be like, wow, I've been living this life. I've been doing these things that have been unfulfilling to me. And most of us do things that kind of like we try to fix things constantly. Like if we're not feeling good, some people's fix might be to eat, to cover up that feeling. But then how do they feel afterwards? They ultimately feel worse than what they did to begin with. And
Hmm.
then they think, okay, I'm going to get myself back on track. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat good. And then before they know it, they get used to that. And then that feeling comes up again. What do? Try to fix it. Go back to eating. Cycle repeats itself.
Hmm. What's interesting when you mentioned Joe Dispenza, I was thinking
Yeah.
actually because he talks about how when you're in that loop, your body becomes the mind, and you're
Hmm.
really just following habits. And it made me think about like one of the things that I did that like broke one of my habits and sort of shifted me to this type of lifestyle. I
Mm.
had went vegan for like 6 months, and so
Wow.
that broke my eating habits. So like I have to be mindful every time I'm going to eat some food. So I'm like thinking, okay, where can I go and eat? I can't eat all the things I used to as defaults. So that, in itself got me to think differently. And
Yeah.
from there, I'm now fueling my body with better types of food. I'm just vegetarian now, but fueling my body with better types of food. The gut is a second brain in that aspect too. And now I'm able to think more clear thoughts. One, I've broken
Mm.
the habits of my default foods, everything I would revert to. As you mentioned, go fix it. You just go get, your food or whatever your fix is. So I broke that habit and started to just like replace it with new things. And because I didn't know everything that was able to eat, I had to think more. I had to be like,
Yeah.
okay, is this actually vegan? Can I do this? No? Okay, dang. And then I just bring more awareness to my everyday actions. I can't
Yeah.
just snack on something.
Exactly. And you have to put your body through uncomfortable situations. Like with you, it was like going vegetarian. And it's you also like you have to be mindful of what you're eating. So you're conscious, okay, I can't have this anymore. I need to eat this. And then it goes back to changing the way that you feel about yourself. So you were giving your body a different kind of nutrition that was ultimately fueling you and giving you more of clarity. And some people they use exercise for that as well, and exercise has been like my tool, and eating good in balance too with that.
Mhm.
And I found that when I would push myself through stages of the workout, your mind will start playing, be like, no, you're tired, stop at this rep. But I'd always play little like mind tricks with myself. For example, I set out to do 10 reps. I'd be like, okay, I'm at 5, I'm halfway there, I'm getting there. And then in my head, I'll be like, oh, I could do 5 more. And I'll push 5 more. And I'll be like, I could push 5 more. But ultimately, I set out to do 25 reps, but I told myself, okay, just get to 10, see how you feel from there. And then you just have to do those things, and you realize like you can get your body through anything. Because like Dr. Joe Dispenza also says, your body can push past the limits of the mind. Those aren't his exact words, but I know he says something along the lines of that.
Absolutely. I like how you said that too, because those little mind tricks, a lot of people, they might use and not recognize that those
Hmm.
are little tricks that you use. I
Yeah.
know personally, like, breaking down small goals, even, you set to do the 25 and you break it down into sets of 10 or 5 and all that type of stuff too as well. And you don't stop and rack it, but you're like, I made it 5. I can do 5 more. Yeah, 5 more, 5 more, and you
Yeah.
achieve that goal. So like that's really one of the things too, because I also, when I went vegan, I was working out and everything as well, and that was other things that I would be doing, is like, oh, that's a large number of reps, but if I break it down, it's not that bad.
Yeah. That's
So
so
yeah.
true. That's so true. Um, Another thing, there was this talk that I watched, this TED talk, and they were speaking of obviously mindfulness and awareness. And I forgot his name, but once I find out, I'll send you the link to the talk. It was amazing. He was speaking about this experiment that was done, and like I was thinking of doing this practice with you right now, so that way like people can have like a sense of like what we're talking about. So in the experiment, what he does is he gets the students to um, say like the alphabet as quickly as they can in their head. And he gets them to say, count from 1 to example 20 in their head as quick as they can. And then he
Mhm.
changes it. And then he gets them to do, actually, I'm not going to tell you because then you're already going to think about it. So I'll tell you the third one when we get to it. Okay. I want you to say out loud though, the alphabet as quick as you can, and I'm going to stop you. Okay.
All right, sounds
Are
good.
you ready?
Right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let
Okay.
me count down or something.
Okay. And go.
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y and Z.
Stop. Yeah. Now count from 1 to 20 as quick as you can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
Stop.
20.
Yep. Okay. So now I want you to combine the letter and the number and say it as quick as you can. So A1, B1.
Oh, okay.
You
Oh,
ready?
whoa. I'll
You
try.
ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And go.
A1, B1. Wait, hold on. Wait. Okay, so wait. That was interesting. Okay. A1, B1, C1, D1, E1, F1, G. Wait, I'm
Okay,
messing
stop.
up.
So it's meant to be A1, B2, C3,
Oh.
E1. That's all good. But do you see like what happens is when you're like it comes to like attention span. So like we have example, if we're multitasking, we can't um we're only, our brain is only um how did you say it? But the brain can only really focus on one thing and give its full capacity to that one thing. But a lot of the time, we tend to multitask. So, example, if I'm talking to you right now and I'm writing something down, I'm not able to take in everything that you're saying to me. So my mind is going to work at half of its capacity than if it was for me to like fully be present with you and listen to you right now. And with that experiment, he gets the students to do that, and they're more able to understand. Oh wow, like because if you're doing that exercise and you realize as well, your mind slowed down from being able to say A B C D E F G 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. You know,
Hmm.
and I think that was like a beautiful, like an awesome study that he did with them, and it made the students more aware within that lesson because he actually did that exercise to begin with them. So it kind of like engaged more of their attention at the moment, in that moment. And
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
and I think, oh no, all good. I think it's this like a perfect way to understand like mindfulness, because what is mindfulness? Like what I said earlier, it's having your mind and your body in the same place. And how do you master that? You're aware of your thoughts, your emotions, your senses as well, because mindfulness and awareness, um they're different, but they come together and you can achieve the same thing.
Mhm.
So
I
how did you
like
find that exercise?
Oh, in that
Oh,
exercise,
yeah,
I was gonna say, I really like how it's a pattern interrupt because as you were saying, our minds, we're so used to like, okay, this is habitually like what I gotta do, thinking about
yeah,
this. And then you're like, hey, now I'm gonna mess up your pattern here. And you have to say something in between each one. And
yeah.
that again, super beautiful gym right there. Thank you so much for having me do that exercise.
No, all good. Like I wanted to do that because I was like, people will understand more um if they do that. And when I was watching that TED talk, I kind of like, your mind starts to like focus on other things, because when I'm watching TV, like I'll start to take notes, do other things, read, and then what grabbed my attention was that, and I realized how much it grabbed the audience as well, because he noticed people in the talk like on their phones and doing other things, but then when he engaged them for that 1 minute exercise, they were fully present the rest of the talk.
Mhm.
And just imagine if you can like apply those, um not apply that exercise, but be more mindful about your attention, where you're putting it. Like you can change anything, anything in your life, and you can improve like any aspect of your life.
Absolutely. It all again comes back down to awareness. And a lot of us, through habits and actions, we repeat a
Oh,
lot of those things all the time. Oh, is it breaking up?
yeah, I just lost you for a second. All good now.
Did you hear any of the audio or no?
No, I didn't. It like completely froze
Oh,
just for like a few seconds.
it's all good. I was just basically saying, through bringing awareness to our everyday actions, even things that you do automatically, like brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah,
You can bring those pattern interrupts every day, and you can bring smaller little things in your everyday life to recognize where you can change. As we said, or as we proved here in this example, I can do
yeah,
the A through Z, I can do the 1 through 20, but if you try to like interrupt it and do something, both things at the same time, or even just something that's new, right? That's where you have my mind literally slowed down. I'm like, wait, I'm not even saying the alphabet right. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So again, loving that, that now people get to see this as well and take that and be like, okay, maybe my everyday situations, maybe there's things that I'm missing because of how I've already gone through this in the past, and bring new awareness to it.
Exactly. And it's like, like segment intending, like how you have segments in a podcast, or you have segments like in a TV show. Look at your life. You In your day, you have segments of the day. Um, it could be just getting up out of bed, like feeling the sheets on your body, like pulling them off, feeling your feet touch the ground, walking, switching on the kettle to make your coffee, brushing your hair, feeling that. And it's like when you're more in touch with your senses, and just like driving the car, like having your hands on the steering wheel, turning the corner, feeling the bump on the road, like all those things, like when you're just aware of those things happening around you, um, you can be more intentional with things you set out to do. Because I think most of the time we're like in our head about things. We've just lost our way of feeling, and just taking in like the environment around us.
Hmm. One thing too that people can do, that I thought about as we're talking here, take a different way to work, switch up your
Hmm.
patterns and your habits, because you can do those things habitually and not even think about how you got from point A to point B because you did
Yeah,
it all the time. You take a new way, now you gotta
autopilot. Mhm.
yeah, your autopilot is literally off now. You can't just go because you have to think. You're like, oh, okay, I've never seen this street before. Oh, construction over here, and all these things that you have to adjust to. So, ask yourself, if not you personally, but anyone who's, listening to this as well, if
Yeah,
your life isn't going the way that you would like it to, let's try something new. Let's literally switch it up. And it's gonna feel uncomfortable at first, but that's how we grow because we're so used to, the familiar yesterday, I guess we could call it. you
Yeah.
know Repeat those actions over time, and you're like, oh, I can predict how today's going to go. Well, because you're not going to change anything. But if you change something, you can't predict how it's going to
Yeah.
go.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Most people are scared of the unknown. They're scared of uncertainty. Like, and what is fear? Like, I think we spoke about this in our last call. Like, fear, it's false evidence appearing real, but it's just like we create that story in our mind and it stops us from doing the unknown. And it's through the unknown that you realize, like, wow, I didn't realize I was that strong, or I didn't know that that was my weakness. And it's from experiencing those things that you can strengthen those, like changing your limiting beliefs into limitless beliefs. The only way you
Mhm.
can change them is if you're aware of them. And the only way to be aware of them is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. Other than
Yeah.
this podcast, what's one thing that you've done lately that put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, but you learned like a really solid gem, and this is like easy, and that you liked it or something?
Oh, that's an amazing question. It was starting my podcast initially,
Hmm.
um, because I had this belief of myself that I was not a good speaker. And I told myself I was a better writer than I am a speaker. And I told myself for so long that story that it became a part of me. And I realized when I started getting out of my comfort zone and making videos on TikTok, like it started out on Snapchat like you, and then it
Yeah.
worked its way up to TikTok. And I started sharing more of like how I felt and my struggles. And I realized like when I was really in that flow state, I had momentum, which like was I was able to get out like how I felt, and people could connect with that. And I was like, maybe I'm not a bad speaker. Like maybe I'm actually a good speaker, but I just have to keep doing this to believe more in myself. And I just kept doing it. And then I always had that curiosity, like I want to do a podcast, but how can I regularly like create regular content and make a podcast? Like why are people going to listen to me? So then it shifted from me gaining that confidence in my voice to okay, but what do I have to offer people when it comes to podcasts? So I was like, you know what? The only way I know what I have to bring and what I have to offer to people is if I just do it. I need to do it. So that was my kind of I think I want to say motto. It was like my motto in a way was just to do it. Get out of my head, experience it, because the only way I'm gonna get better is if I just do it. And
Hmm.
so that was answering your question, starting the podcast, doing it, and that eventually expanded onto doing like the Zoom calls and seeing people face to face and hearing their stories and sharing my story and not only helping them grow, but helping myself and us growing together collectively.
Hmm. And I want to
Yeah,
say too, you do a great job speaking. I love the ones that you're
thank
walking,
you.
just doing your morning walks and just sharing any information, whether it be your day
Thank
or
you.
some insightful stuff. So yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. And I think like what I want people to get out of this YouTube, out of this podcast, is like be conscious about what you have to bring to people, because a lot of people don't have confidence in themselves. But it's like what I said earlier, be brave, like speak on your limiting beliefs because they're not yours. They've just become a subconscious programming of what you've thought about yourself over time. And like what Dr. Joe Dispenza says, we think up to 70,000 thoughts every day, and 90% of those thoughts are the same, and also 90% of those thoughts aren't even true. So
Hmm.
when you're more aware of that, you start pulling away those layers of beliefs that aren't you, and you start like getting closer to who you are. So I feel like unlearning is the most practical thing you could apply to your life, because when you take off those layers of what you believed you were, you can see who you truly are, which is that light.
Absolutely. I really like that a ton.
Mm.
That's one of that's sort of like how my motto became, make yourself a priority, right?
Yeah, I
Because
love
for so
that. Yeah, I was going
long,
to mention that.
yeah, so because for so long I'd limit myself, and this is kind of all around the same time when I was making the Snapchat videos and everything, and then I was becoming aware of the impact that I actually had, and people were messaging me and stuff. And I was, working a ton. I had the personal training job. I was at a bank, Sprint, Jimmy John's, and doing Grubhub and DoorDash. So I had over 5 jobs at the same time, and just staying super busy. And I was studying how to become an entrepreneur and things I could do online. And as I was studying all these things, I'm getting this positive feedback from other people and my negative thoughts holding me back. And then also listening to a lot of audiobooks. Eventually, I tested some things that I learned how to market products online, and I made a lamp. I sold this lamp online without owning any inventory. So I called that my light bulb moment, because after I did that,
Absolutely.
I was like, oh my goodness, like the thing, I can do this. I can do whatever I set my mind to. And so that moment I quit my job at the bank and, just kept the online business stuff going. And from there, the rest is history. And the motto's been, make yourself a priority, ever since.
I love it. I've always loved that. Whenever you say it in your videos, I'm just like, if he has anything signature, it's make yourself a priority.
Yeah,
And it's so
absolutely.
true. Because like a lot
Mhm.
of people, they think it's selfish to work on themselves. It's never selfish to work on yourself. It's necessary, if
Absolutely.
anything. And we're taught that we should give love to those around us and help people, but you can't help people at your full capacity if you're not giving more so to yourself. Like, you help people through the overflow of your cup. You don't help people through your cup being half full or half empty. I think that's right.
Yeah,
It's
either
one of
way.
those things.
You have to make sure you have something in your cup to be able to help others. I mean, especially a lot of
Yeah.
people that pour a ton and don't ever fill theirs back up.
Hmm.
And what's odd enough about that is that's why we had started another podcast called the Fill Your Cup podcast.
Yes.
Because there's like, hey, there's so much out there. A lot of people are giving and giving and giving, but not, helping themselves. And you have to first. You have to start with yourself.
Yeah. And Simon Sinek, you know him?
Simon Sinek. No, I've heard the name, but I don't know his specific work.
I think you probably would know him by face. He's been on a lot of like shows like The School of Greatness with Lewis Howes, Tom
Mm,
Bilyeu. He's been on the Impact Theory.
okay.
Yeah, he speaks about the golden circle. And he talks about how um a way to be successful is you start off with your why, your how, and then your what. But a lot of people, they begin with their what, their how, and then their why. And it changes the dynamic of what your goal is. So when you start off with the reason why you're doing something, it gains people can connect with you, because what is your why? Your why is um, to your core why you're doing exactly what you're doing. Like, example, for you with Tyler's bonus is ultimately to like create I like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's for people to see their potential in themselves, and it's obviously to make themselves a priority. And when
Mm,
you make yourself a priority, you can shine that light onto other people to work on themselves and then be at their best potential for whatever it is that they want to achieve. And same thing with me, like UBU, it's for people to find their authenticity. And that's by me being authentically me, being willing to mess up, um, being prepared to not resonate with everyone, but like for them to see like this is me, and providing that space for people to bring themselves in and like learn and um, figure out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and know that they can build on them or completely get rid of them. And
Absolutely.
when you start off with your why, it's everything. And then from there, like that's what I love about the golden circle. Um, yeah,
Oh,
starting off with the
absolutely.
why, how, what, because then you see that you're working from the inside out, not the outside in.
Hmm. I think a lot of it too, because obviously both of us were helping trying to empower other people to see that they can
Yeah,
do these things for themselves. And again, it kind of comes back to how we mentioned in the beginning, belief. You know, you have to
yeah.
believe that you can change. And once you have that belief in yourself, the sky is no longer the limit. There is no limit.
Hmm. That's so true. I love that. I love that. Because then when you hear that the sky is the limit, you think that, oh, okay, like if I reach that place, what next?
Hmm. It's like
I love that.
anything, anything.
Yep. So, was there anything else that you wanted to um share when it comes to like mindfulness for you, or has there been any person who has, like, I guess, impacted you in a way, or inspired you um to build more onto your business?
Hmm. Yeah, so there's quite a few people that one I have to credit for, you know, where I am right now.
Yeah.
When I was working at the bank and doing all this, you know, kind of chaotic 5 jobs at once, I had a buddy named Will who's also now in my mastermind crew, and he had gave me the book Think and Grow Rich. Now that book, it's not just about learning how to build income or anything like that, but that's what empowered me to realize that, oh, there's so many people in the past who have been through worse situations, who had a ton of other different limitations. Like this guy named Barnes, his last name was Barnes, and he wanted to work with Edison, had nothing really to offer other than himself and his service, didn't have a plan, didn't live anywhere near him, but just hopped on the train, went all the way to New Jersey to work with Edison, and got rejected a few times. Didn't have his chance right away, but he was persistent in wanting to do that thing, wanted to be valuable to Edison, and eventually his opportunity shined in something that no one else saw would even work. It was this Ediphone, so sort of like the telephone right now, but it was
Yeah.
the Ediphone back then. And everyone else thought it would fail. He said, "Nope, I could do this," and he took his opportunity, and it became this thing where it was invented by Edison but installed by Barnes, and he, you know, achieved his goal. And there's so many other ones in that book too that are just gold. But you know that in myself is like, okay, if these people can do these things, um, what's stopping me really other than my own thinking? And
Mm.
just I needed to take action. And I started to come up with a plan. That's when I started to study, you know, how to start a business online and how to do all this other stuff. And started to share my things on Snapchat, on Instagram, and everywhere else. And started to build people that were interested in that thing, which again was like validating what I was doing and also
Yeah.
building my momentum. And all from that book, you know, that my friend Will he lent me his Audible account. And from there just started diving into more self-development books, started adding it on. And at the end of the Think and Grow Rich book they say to build a mastermind, and I did. I invited Will to be my mastermind crew. Another guy named Austin Jimenez, he started a gym after used to work with me at Planet Fitness and used to work for other gyms and everything, but after being in the mastermind, you know, he had enough of, you know, combined with my making a website for him and ads and everything and his own talents and skills, you know, we were able to he opened his own studio. So he's
Wow.
doing very successful at that as well. And we have my friend Jay who joined in, really in life coaching and spirituality as well. And he's like now self-employed fully. He had a job he really didn't like. He also read the book Think and Grow Rich, joined our mastermind, and through just everyday conversations, we meet up once a week, every week for the last 2 years.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
It's like the domino effect that you started, and it's good. Like you guys have like empowered each other by the sounds of
Mhm.
it, and you have connected through, a few of you have connected through like the book as well,
Mhm.
which is great.
Absolutely. And then one more person. Sorry, it's starting to rain, so that got
Yeah,
my attention.
no, that's good.
Uh,
Go for it.
Yeah, one more person too, who was a really big impact in a lot of this, was my friend Michael Guidry. And as I was, studying a lot in the spirituality and stuff, and really questioning, like, why do I think certain ways, and why, like, how can I sort of get more connected with self? You know, he was also like a big influence in that because he was starting to question those same things. We both worked at Planet Fitness at that time, and started to like dive down the rabbit hole, but and then he eventually wrote a book on it all, and it's published on Amazon and everything too. And but yeah, I definitely have to give him a shout out as well for kind of enlightening me on, hey, self, you have to do things for yourself, and you have to question like why are you thinking a certain way and everything too. And that all happened around the same time.
And from there, that's when it got you to where you are now,
Absolutely. And that was
and
just like,
continuing to go. Yep,
yeah, and I don't see any stopping. There's no sky limit.
that's true. And it's exciting. It's exciting when you meet people that are like-minded, that want to grow with you, but also like see your vision and you see
Mhm.
theirs. And ultimately, like what connects people is we all want to be better. And we might want different things in life, but when it comes down to it, like what do we all want? We all want happiness. We all want success for each other. We all want to feel fulfilled within ourselves, and we all want to live intentional lives where we see past our limits.
Mhm.
And that's why I thought like it's really important, like just to bring to light mindfulness awareness, because when you um, use that as your source, you can change everything, like what we spoke earlier about.
Absolutely. So, question back to you as well would be,
Mm.
with who was, a key person in your life who helped push you, or if you had a key person that is, or what was the, kind of spark that really pushed you to do these things for yourself and make you be you?
Yeah, I love that. I've always felt from like a young age, like I've always wanted more for my life. Like I've always wanted to be like a better person each day. And I think along the way, like I did lose connection with where I wanted to be. Um, but what got me more into a state of like of focus on getting to where I am now was I've always been into fitness. So like I've done like bodybuilding shows. So I pretty much got myself into these challenging situations. And through doing bodybuilding, like I learned about like the key disciplines, like with that, which is okay, you have to stick to your diet, first of all. And how are you going to stick to your diet? You have to pull away from people. So you have a lot of time spent on your own. And when you have a lot of time on your own, you have a lot of time to like think about what's important to you, what your priorities should be. And then you realize as well, like certain people in your life that just you don't really like have you don't resonate with anymore during those times because you're very very vulnerable, your mind, your body, your spirit at that time. And I learned a lot of myself in the process. I saw the people that were patient and that were there for me during that time, and then I also saw the people that weren't patient with me and weren't there for me during that time. So you and when you're in that state of being on a calorie deficit and pushing your body, you don't really internalize like, okay, I know who's here for me and I know who's not. You see it differently. You're more like, okay, like why is this person like treating me this way? But like being out of finishing my competition, looking back, I could see like, do I want these people back into my life, the ones that weren't there for me, or should I make myself a priority and just keep the people in my life that were there for me during that time? And that's what I did, was I separated myself from the people who just didn't have patience for me, that were mad at me because I couldn't catch up with them. I kind of just like accepted, okay, this is what it is. I can let that go. And these are the people who were there for me. And I'm going to give more of my time to them. So it's a hard thing, but I think that's what helped me understand my own sort of like value system in a way, was I could see it more so from who was there, who was not there. But
Hmm.
then also like not hold anything against people as well. You weren't there for me, so like you're a bad person. It wasn't like that at all. It was just like, okay, I want to give my attention to the people who value me because I value myself. And so doing the competition got me closer to myself, and I learned more about what more I wanted from there. So it went into like workplaces. I wasn't fulfilled with the job I had, so I changed up my career.
Mm.
Um, but when it comes to like my confidence, where I am now, I can honestly say like uh Jesse
Yeah,
Star,
yeah. Yes.
King of King's Energy. He helped me a lot. Um, he helped me see like my worth. He helped me have that like kind of that self-love for myself that was always there, but I was unaware of it. But he brought that to light for me. When actually not on speaking terms anymore, but I always give credit where it's due. And he did amazing things for me. He really, really helped me. And I still have appreciation for him to this day. Um, but I think like for now, it's just I give a lot of that credit to myself, because ultimately, like, I got myself to where I am now, and like everyone around me, I'm so grateful for. But I think like if you want to grow, you have to give yourself that credit,
Hmm.
and the people around you are amazing. They help you. But I think like ultimately how I got my confidence was by just believing in myself and um letting go of those limiting beliefs, the things that held me back. And I think I just ranted on.
Yeah,
But
oh, it's all good.
it's years, it's like pretty much my whole life. Like you can't really go to like one specific thing, or like, when it comes to like growth and mindset and um all of that. But yeah, I think it comes down to uh pushing myself, believing in myself, and just not being scared.
Hmm. Kind of like that again, back to zero of the four step is belief. You had
Yeah.
belief in yourself the entire time, which is amazing, and push through
Yeah.
all the adversities and everything too. One thing I do want to ask as well, because I know a lot of, I had, a self of a moment of being by myself for a while too. And I really feel that's key. When you have that time where you're out of separate from your environment and you're really just with your thoughts, and you can be mindful and realize like, what is it that you want to create for yourself, by your well, not really by yourself, but you know what I mean, just what do you want, right? But a lot of people, when they have that time by themselves, that's when their negative thoughts come up, right?
Yeah.
But what advice would you have for somebody who, they're listening to this podcast and like, all right, perfect, so I'm just going to take some time by myself, but then maybe those negative thoughts start to creep in. Obviously mindfulness, the key to this podcast, but what advice would you have for that person?
The best advice I'd have for that is, if negative thoughts come up when you're on your own, because they
Mm.
happen for me all the time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm
Same
human.
here.
Yeah, I have them all the time. But what it comes down to for me is, how does that thought make me feel?
Mm.
And if that thought obviously is negative, I'm going to be feeling not so good about myself, which means ultimately I'm going to put my state of mind in a place I don't want it to be. And then it's going to carry out throughout the day with momentum, like what we spoke earlier. Um, I just always address it to, how does this thought make me feel? Doesn't make me feel good. What can I do to get myself in a space of clarity. You know what? I'm going to go out for a walk. And going out for a walk at that time isn't going to be the thing that I want to do, but I'm like, you know what? I know that it's going to help me, so I'm going to go do it. So that was that's my strategy of getting myself out of a negative headspace. It could also be to just literally lie down, have a rest even as well. That's number 2 for me.
Hmm.
Number 3 would be, it should be really number 1, but I'm going to be honest, it's usually number 3 for me, is sit down, like play some sounds, meditate. They
Hmm.
always help for me, is those 3 things. But also be aware that like negativity, negative thoughts, it's nothing but contrasting thoughts with your positive thinking. Because Abraham Hicks, she says this: when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want.
Hmm.
But it's your focus point from that there. If you know what you don't want, okay, I don't want to think bad thoughts. Well, then when you know that, you know what you do want. I want to think amazing thoughts. So you choose which route you want to go on from that point. Do I want to focus on the things that I don't want, or do I want to focus on the things I do want? And it's just like you change your perspective from that initial thought. That's how I get out of like the negative headspace.
Absolutely. I think that's super key. And a lot of people, again, we have quite a few listeners who would be in that exact same situation. And I think those are some great takeaways that they might not have thought about. Sort of like how we mentioned when you're doing the reps in the gym, breaking it down into little
Yeah.
processes. I can do 5, I can do 5 again. I can go for a walk, I can play my music and lay down and just, really let it all out, just think,
Mhm.
or, meditate. So
Yeah,
all of it, these are just processes that people can just take, and hopefully that helps someone out here, you know.
definitely. And I think just having this conversation um, is helpful, and that's what I love about you. You're willing to do things to encourage and bring this level of awareness to people. And so am I. Like, I'm very passionate about helping people because I know what it's like to be in the headspace of being stuck, not knowing what's next for me, or like all of those things. And like I still face those challenges now, but I don't make them a part of my life because I'm aware of them. I see them for what they are. I know that they're not me. They're nothing but like those conditioned entities, which what thoughts initially are, floating around my mind. And it's like limiting beliefs, you're not going to completely be able to banish them.
Mhm.
um you have to learn to work with them.
Absolutely.
And that's what awareness is. Awareness is just being aware, okay, like what thought am I thinking? And then just being able to detach from it, knowing that it's not you.
Hmm. What's interesting, I listened to a podcast earlier. Have you heard of Jim Quick?
I've heard of him. Yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
him.
So one thing that he mentions that people can do to overcome those as well is remember the word abracadabra, because in Arabic that means I create as I speak. And so those
Oh,
thoughts that you have, you're creating those. And what would you like to create from this point forward, right?
yeah,
So, those negative thoughts, we can't banish them, but we can rephrase them. We can say something else. What would we like to actually create with that? And so when those thoughts come up, again, just like Abraham Hicks says, if you know what you don't want, you know what you do. So how can you rephrase that thought into something that you want?
that's so true. I love that. It's like conscious manifesting as well.
Mhm.
And we create with our minds. That's how we create. Like if you look at something in your room, that was created from a thought. And now it's in the 3D reality. And when we're able to see that and realize our potential, like someone, I'm looking at a kettlebell right now, someone thought about a weight, and they thought about, okay, you know what, I could do this exercise with that. I'm going to put this to paper. They, drew it or whatever, then they brought it into reality. And we can do the exact same thing. It's just having that belief in ourselves.
really key. That's all everything is belief.
Yeah,
Everything we have around us. Someone believed that we could communicate via video face to face, and
yeah,
now we are on Zoom.
exactly, exactly. This is amazing. We should do like another episode or something on this where we could dive a little bit more deep into it. But um very appreciative of this conversation.
Same here. I definitely love to hop on again in the future as well and talk
Yeah,
about, diving deeper on any of these subjects. And if anyone has questions, of course, comment section, let us know how what we can bring to the table next time.
exactly. And you can do like YouTube lives. Hey, YouTube lives where um, you can plan them in advance. Like example, you could do them on your channel where people can actually get involved and ask you questions on the spot. I've thought about doing them,
Yeah.
um, yeah, in the past, like and recently as well. But I've never done a YouTube live before, so I'm not sure if they work. If you can invite people on and speak together.
I'm not quite sure as well.
Mm,
For me, I haven't really explored as much on YouTube as I'd like to say I have. I'm
yeah,
still getting more into that as well.
yeah. But
But it,
pardon?
I said it would be amazing. Definitely would love to, hop on something again with you and again, dive deep. I don't mind helping people
Yeah,
realize how they can empower themselves in any aspect of life.
definitely. And I'd love to have you on one of the Zoom calls with the community that I have, and they would really appreciate. They'd really appreciate you. They're amazing people, and the thing is, like all of us are so different, which is what I love. I love that about the UBU community is everyone's different, but like what I said earlier, we're all there because we want more out of our life. We all want to be better. And it's just embracing authenticity because so many people are just afraid to be themselves. And I think when you can just freely embrace who you are and just freely just own everything about yourself. If you're not good at something, like own it. It's okay. Like the only way we can get better is by if we want to get better at it,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. And
Yeah.
that's
So
why,
I'm
huh?
oh you go. All good.
I was gonna say that's why one of my favorite words is yet. We might not be good at something yet, but you don't have to accept that as your final. You
Hmm.
practice and you work at it and you get better and then you become good at something.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
So I'd
yeah.
love to have you on. I'd love to have you on a Zoom call. Um, but I'll make sure obviously like it's set out a time that you can do um and that everyone else can do because I have a few people that are from Europe on the call.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd have to figure something out because
Absolutely.
we're all
So
different sides of the world.
I know, right? This was definitely interesting with the 14-hour time difference here as well, but
I
we
know.
made it work. And if you send me invitations over and over,
Yep.
I will make one of these. So,
Awesome.
mhm.
Sounds good. That was amazing.
Yep. Thank you so much for again having me on here. Appreciate this conversation. And I know so many people are going to get a ton of gems from this. So, again,
Yeah.
great conversation.
Thank you everyone for listening. And thank you, Ty, for being on here with me and sharing your experience when it comes to like being mindful and how it's helped you grow and continuing to grow as well because we're always growing no matter what. We don't reach a certain point and then that's where we're meant to be. So that's what I love about this conversation. It's just like we're continuing to grow. That's it. Sky is not the
Mhm.
limit, it's beyond that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Did you wanna do an outro?
Did you? Oh, I didn't really have an outro plan, to be honest. I just usually
Oh,
do my
good.
intro, and so yeah.
Okay. I'll stop the recording now. Where is it?